Okay, so let's kick it off. Thinking of a California road trip, most people are. And it's also the kind of trip, even if you have done one, you are likely to do it again. That truly works for everyone. You can be a solo traveler, like just you and the road and some good tunes. And this is a great trip along the way. It can be great for couples, great for families. And we're going to talk too about the hotels along the way that kind of fit better for one kind versus another. This is really something you can do year round. So it is not something that is strictly a good weather thing. First of all, the California weather, it's pretty good compared to our East Coast weather many times of the year. But the one thing to know is that in the wetter season, you can get, and we'll talk about this in the driving, with the rainstorms, you can get issues that will cause maybe road closures. Just be aware of weather. California does get it. And when California gets it, you can have mudslides that affect roads. And then how long to stay? It's up to you. This can be 3 days, this can be 10. Location, obviously, y'all know where California is. Most of the time, the road trip is LA to San Francisco or vice versa. There's no real advantage to one way or another. So you're flying into one and out of the other. You do need a rental car, and there are obviously lots of additional places that you can add on. Lots of new openings happening too. This year, the biggest one is the Regent Santa Monica Beach. This is the old Lowe's, for those of you who are familiar with it, in Santa Monica, that has been taken over and completely redone and will reopen as a Regent, which is a brand that's being relaunched that I am obsessed with. So the one in Vietnam was the relaunch of the brand in general. And now they have a Hong Kong one that everybody is raving about as like the coolest new place in Hong Kong. And we're going to get one in Santa Monica. Oh, and the Carlton Con too, also a Regent. And then some others, Four Seasons, Biltmore in Santa Barbara is also very notable. This was a really popular hotel that has been closed for years and is finally coming back. When I was up there, I drove by and you can see the construction happening. So this will be sort of an alternative to Rosewood Miramar if it's booked. And then Pixar Place for our Disney lovers. This is going to be a really fun theme park. Keep an eye on this one. It's actually open now. I would 100% take my kids here. It looks so much fun. Let's go through the main stops and cities. What are you getting in each place? Santa Monica, LA. This is really city, right? City, museum, dining, shopping. Santa Barbara, Montecito. This is wine and hiking. Big Sur, Carmel. This is sort of this amazing coast. And when you've got in the 7 Mile Drive and the aquarium and the mountains with Big Sur, of really like being out there in the mountains. And then obviously we know about San Francisco. So back into the city. So you can really bridge it with two cities. All right. We recently were out in LA. So there's a lot of information right now on LA. So again, I'm not going to go deep into the neighborhoods of this. We also have an article coming out soon on the hotels that we did on our tour day of Santa Monica and Beverly Hills. We also did a West Hollywood one recently. So there's a lot of information. But what are you doing? You kind of know this stuff. You're at the Santa Monica Pier, you're shopping, you're doing some museums. Tons of places for great food in LA. These are a few of our favorites. I'm not going to go through them one by one, but this should be a bit of a guide for you. I'm just going to say that the sugarfish in LA is like so much better than the sugarfish in New York. I don't know what it is. And I did actually order sugarfish last night and I really love it, but it is better in LA. If you don't know what Erewhon is like the fanciest, like grocery store / deli you've ever been to, where you can get like a $20 smoothie. And you shouldn't want to do this, except for then you get there and everything is beautiful and you want to buy it all. And you have like a Hailey Bieber smoothie in your hand that you just paid $18 for. And somehow it all feels right. And you find yourself going back and like, I don't know. It doesn't make sense, but Erewhon is amazing. I'm surprised Erewhon hasn't showed up in New York yet. It is an experience. You have to go to Erewhon. Okay, so we're going to talk about just two hotels here right now. One that's a very famous one and one that's an under the radar one. And remember, we'll get to the honorable mentions later to talk more about other ones. Shutters on the Beach might be one of the most iconic Santa Monica hotels, and that's why we're featuring this. It has the feeling almost like of a beach house. It is directly on the beach. So remember that Santa Monica hotels are divided between those that are down on the beach. So you've got Casa del Mar, you've got Shutters, Regent will be directly on the beach, and those that are sort of one line back, like the Viceroy. And then the others are up on the bluff. So as you go up past the pier, the land raises. And so you've got the Fairmont and the Oceana. Those sort of sit up above the beach. So Shutters is iconic. It is on the beach. It is full of personality and history. I love this hotel. People have really like emotional attachments to Shutters. It's almost like a piece of Nantucket showed up with like had a California vibe. I love this hotel. Very specifically, the rooms are kind of quirky isn't the right word, but the layouts in terms of understanding like where to book the views, whether they're like ocean front, ocean view, whether they set back behind the pool, all of these things are a little bit quirky. So if you're trying to book a family with connecting rooms, make sure just email reservations. They're really good at helping match you up to the right one. But great option. The other thing I love about Shutters is that the lobby feels really cozy. There's a fireplace. It feels like the kind of place where even if it's kind of a rainy day in LA or it's a chilly day in the winter, it seems like you can cozy up there with like a cup of coffee and a book. So I love Shutters. Now we're going to the under the radar one. It may not be that under the radar because I talk about it so much, but L'Hermitage Beverly Hills. This is one where every single room is huge. Every single room has a massive walk-in closet with a dressing area. They will do an early check-in and a late checkout without paying and guaranteed ahead of time as long as you get in touch and let them know. They are really truly care about service. A lot of their DNA in terms of the people who work there comes from Four Seasons and Peninsula, so they've implemented a lot of that. But people don't know about this hotel, so the price point is always lower than some of the other similar hotels in Beverly Hills. Lots of rooms, actually maybe all of the rooms have some kind of balcony or outdoor space. It's in a really nice residential neighborhood, close to everything, but also quiet at night. And they are doing a massive renovation on the rooftop. So they have a pool, they're redoing the whole thing, and it's going to be opening up later in the summer. And then we are going to move up into Santa Barbara. So I was recently out there, and I think I spent most of the time searching real estate listings because I'm obsessed and I want to move to Santa Barbara now. Not happening yet, but there's my retirement plan. It's so gorgeous. This is all of the mountains and the ocean and sort of everything that you imagine as picture perfect California. Great food, great dining, but a little bit more low key. And again, not so far from LA. It depends on the traffic, but like at best, it could be an hour and a half. At worst, 2.5. You're not talking about a long drive when you're headed up, and you can pass through Malibu along the way to split it up if you're with kids and want to make some stops. But just a really, really gorgeous part of the state and with some incredible hotels. Now, what are you doing here? Well, you're doing the hiking trails. The hiking is great. There's one. So Bella from our HQ team here, she's from Santa Barbara and gave me a great list of hikes. I went up one that has hot springs, natural hot springs on the top, and there's people in the hot springs. Not all of them wearing clothes, by the way. Prepare yourself for that. There's the Funk Zone, which is in downtown Santa Barbara, which is where you have a lot of the tasting rooms for the wineries in the area. There's art museum, there's Lotus Land in the gardens, and then there's restaurants. I mean, there's just so many restaurants. A few of my favorites that are in here that you should not miss is Super Rica Taqueria. This is the famous super cash place right downtown or right in the middle of Santa Barbara in the city that was, I guess, made famous by Julia Child, but like one of the best meals I've had in my life, and it was $12. On the other end of it, I wanted to highlight Lucky's. Lucky's, I just said to Jacqueline when we were doing this, it's like, if like the ghost of Frank Sinatra like pulled up and like, handed you a martini at your table, it would feel totally right. It's so classy. It has this old Hollywood glamour about it. It is steaks and martinis, and it's super sexy, and I love that. But so many great places to eat, even like Oliver's, which it's all vegetarian and vegan. So there's a way to live that really healthy California lifestyle. 2 hotels here. In our honorable mentions, we're going to talk about a lot more that are more affordable, but I wanted to highlight in this case 2 that they're expensive, but you have to know these because they are honestly like 2 of the nicest hotels in the entire country. So when somebody comes to you and says anniversary, mini moon, super special trip, these are the places you should know about. So let's start with Rosewood, Miramar Beach, because the Rosewood and San Ysidro Ranch, totally different. This is on the beach. So it is a larger resort. It is split. There is actually, if you hear this, there is a train track that goes through it. This is true. It's not a problem. The waves that you hear coming from the beach are louder than the train, and the train doesn't run in the middle of the night. There are rooms that are on the beach that are what you're seeing here, where you are on the sand looking out at the water. And then the rest are up at the main part of the resort and are all throughout the gardens. If you walked from the lobby down to the restaurant down by the beach, it's like 4 minutes, 3 minutes. This isn't the kind of thing where it's sprawling and you need to be driven around, but just just an incredible amount of fun. Huge lawn, two different pools, one for the kids, one for adults only. It has a Goop store in it. It has a great bar, multiple different really good restaurants. This feels sceney and fun and cool. Like you could check in for a weekend and just never leave, even though you're in this incredible destination. It's a fantastic hotel. Really does great stuff for kids. It's Rosewood. We know Rosewood does wonderful stuff for families, but also you can be a couple and have a really romantic vacation here. Excellent spa as well. So I have one client who she goes here by herself. This is like her getaway. She goes, she reads books by the beach, takes walks, goes to the spa. So really, again, works for everyone. Now, 7 minutes away, literally 7 minutes if you drove from one to the other. That's not far. It is a different world. So San Ysidro Ranch, you're basically driving up into the mountains here and you are up in the trees. Yes, there are some sea views, but you feel very mountainy, countryside-y. This is where the Kennedys honeymooned, and it feels like something from that era. So if the Rosewood is like cool and sexy and kind of see and be seen vibes, this is every room is an individual cottage. This is go into your cottage and don't see anyone at all. Amazing restaurant and wine cellar and speakeasy bars. But it is the kind of place where it's like very sort of a romantic hideaway versus kind of that fun, vibey, beachy thing. Again, every single cottage is an individual cottage. Every single one has indoor outdoor shower. Every single one has a working fireplace. Every single one has private outdoor space with a jacuzzi. So you really have your own little like enclave where you are in, of varying sizes, lots of history. There's one where Churchill wrote his book. That's the Churchill one. Everything looks very different. This is not modern and sleek. This is sort of from another era. So think like 1960s California bungalow kind of thing. It's super romantic. It's great. However, it is also family friendly. So for those who want to bring their children, you absolutely can. And actually having like my little cottage had a hammock in it. And so my kids could have run around and been in the hammock and been in the jacuzzi. So you can bring kids. I even myself thought that it was no kids allowed, but totally kids allowed. The other thing to remember is that the pricing is all inclusive. So when you look at the pricing and it's high, remember that it includes the meals, not the alcohol, but it does include the meals, and the food itself is also pricey. So that mitigates the cost a little bit, but just incredibly, incredibly special. Definitely honeymoon material. Okay, so now we're moving out of Santa Barbara up into Big Sur and Carmel. A few places you might want to hit along the way. If you just went straight, it's about 4 hours driving, but most people are going to do some stops along the way because honestly, there's so much to see. It's so pretty in this area. So now you're getting really into more rugged mountains. There's hiking in Santa Barbara. This is like a little bit more rugged up in Big Sur. And then Carmel being down and having the sort of like Carmel by the sea, which is really cute to explore. There's actually like 3 petite palais there now, which are like Palais Society, but small, but little more bed and breakfasty types as well. So smaller hotels, and then Carmel Valley Ranch, which we'll talk about, and sort of bigger hotels, and then Monterey. Also big for golfers with Pebble Beach. So what to do? Obviously, you're going to be super outdoorsy, spa, exploring some of the history. As with everywhere in California, it's just like great food everywhere. So let's talk about some properties. So we're going to do one that's in Big Sur, and this is the most famous one, which is sort of an icon of the area, Post Ranch Inn. We have some other ones that are included when you get into the honorable mentions, but Post Ranch Inn is probably the most famous. This is, as you can see, it's an older design. It has the fireplaces. It has the views. You're sort of perched on the cliff. This feels more like a kind of cool throwback California, not super modern and new. It is no kids allowed. This is very much a secluded retreat where people come for wellness, for sort of checking in to check out, often doing it in combination, in my experience, almost always in combination with somewhere else along the California road trip. So doing like something in Santa Barbara and something here, getting to different experiences, but very, very famous. I think Post Ranch Inn is on like everybody's wish list. I've never been, I'm dying to go. Everybody wants to, who's like a traveler of a certain kind, wants to go to Post Ranch Inn eventually. Now, Carmel Valley Ranch, totally different. So this is activities galore. So this is you're down in the valley, and it's called Carmel Valley Ranch. It's not a ranch in the sense of like a dude ranch, but it is a big sprawling resort. It has hiking trails. It has a golf course. It has tennis. It has the most popular activity there that I've always gotten the best feedback on is the beekeeping. It is pet friendly. It is kid friendly. There's all sorts of different like casitas around the resort. You have a lot of space to spread out in. It's also popular for events. So keep this one in your mind for the ones who want a little bit more going on, easy to drive into Carmel Valley by the Sea, or sorry, Carmel by the Sea, or Monterey, or Pebble Beach. Whereas Big Sur is the like just secluded, stay away from everything. And then we get to San Francisco. So you're ending up in another city, an amazing city. I was just in San Francisco, and like let's just address the elephant in the room. What is the like sort of street situation in San Francisco right now? Like, yeah, I think San Francisco has in some ways gotten an unfairly bad rap in the sense of like, is it unsafe? No, I didn't feel unsafe at all. There's a lot of mental health issues. There's a lot of homelessness. It's sad. There's elements of it, and there's some neighborhoods that are pretty dicey. So although you have a city full of amazing food and great hotels, and obviously it's a tech hub and fun neighborhoods to explore, I think you just have to be aware of if you're a New Yorker and you go to San Francisco, you're probably gonna be like, yeah, it's like a little bit worse than what we see here in New York, but you're not going to be shocked by it. If you live in Greenwich, Connecticut, and you go here, I think you're gonna like, wow, this is good. This is gonna surprise you a little bit. However, it is still an amazing city, and the big push that I'd say is the hotels. They have suffered from sort of the lack of tourism due to the reputation that San Francisco has gotten, and the prices reflect that. So you can stay at a really great hotel for a lot less money, and there's so much to do. So you've got really cool museums like the Exploratorium that are fun for kids. You've got the Golden Gate Bridge Park. They're like the Presidio is phenomenal. Great hiking trails, walking around the Disney Museum over there. You can go and explore outside of the city. There's just like so much to see and do. So it's funny, although you hear a lot of sort of bad talk about traveling to San Francisco, you don't see people moving away from it. Like everybody we have who lives out there, maybe they don't live right in the city, but they love being in this area. So there's a lot of really wonderful things to say about it. And obviously the food is not is not to be forgotten. This is a city people go to for eating. Food is incredible. I don't think I've had a single bad meal there. This is true of like lots of places in California, but particularly in San Francisco. Now, we're talking about two hotels here. San Francisco proper. This is where I stayed when I was there. The thing that I like to highlight about this is if you look at this room, if you've seen the Santa Monica proper looks really different from this one. Each one is really unique. This is full, it's an older building and it has that older architecture and it has these really funky prints. So funky wallpapers and bedspreads and rugs. And it's almost like an American like Ferndale kind of thing with like the mix of all the colors and the patterns. I think it's super fun. It has an incredible rooftop bar and it is in an area that has a bit of a street scene, but people are coming in and out and you'll see like locals are coming in and they're having dinner at the restaurants and they're going to the rooftop bar. It's just the walkability of the neighborhood right around it may not be that great. The rates are great. The hotel is super cool. I've actually stayed in it twice. So I double down on it. I love this hotel. Very, very cool and well priced. Now, the one is down by Embarcadero. This picture shows perfectly what people love about it, the light and the views. These views are phenomenal. There's a lot of good views in San Francisco, but you're right up against the bridge. You're close to the ferry building with all of the great food that you have in there. So you can go walking along the Embarcadero, just a really gorgeous new hotel. And obviously it has the sustainability element, which we love. What I found too is you'll see a lot of people, again, kind of like with the proper, a lot of locals are in there having drinks or going to dinner. But here you'll see a lot of locals just coming in for coffee and kind of co-working in the lobby. So it has really good energy around it. I had not seen this hotel in the last time we were there, and I'd heard it was like from people how much they loved it. Super, super impressed. But really, it is like those lights and the views, just amazing. All right, let's just run through some honorable mentions because I don't want to overlook all of these. These are a lot of the other ones that we visited when we were there. And so you'll see sort of the differences between them. Then Santa Barbara and Big Sur Carmel, we focused in Santa Barbara on the two very splashy, famous ones, but there's so many others. So there's the new opening that's going to come from Four Seasons. There's a Pally House for more affordable. There's El Capitan Canyon, which is glamping. There's Alisal Ranch, which is kind of a dude ranch light. So there's really a little bit of everything there, including a Kimpton and the Hotel California, which are right in the quote unquote city of Santa Barbara. It's certainly not a big city, but if you want to be right downtown and you want to walk to the Funk Zone and walk out to the pier, those are two more affordable options that are right there. Hotel California, by the way, has a really super cool spa. So this is great for kind of the girls' trips. They want to go and do the wine tasting and do the spa. Great one to consider. Then up in Big Sur, the other very famous one outside of Post Ranch is the Alila Ventana Big Sur. Alila Ventana actually, so this is also adults only. Also has, I think we included this in our Valentine's Day one. It has a clothing optional pool, so get ready. Like the hot springs in Santa Barbara that I didn't realize were clothing optional, but they are. So that Alila Ventana, the thing to know is that they do have a glamping section too. And I mean truly glamping, like they're nice tents, but it's shared bathrooms and all of that are quite affordable and that can be an option for along the way. And then Villa Marara Carmel. Okay, moving up into San Francisco. Like I said, there are so many good hotels in San Francisco. And they really come in way more affordable than some of the other cities. So the Ritz-Carlton, what I really love about the Ritz-Carlton, it's up on this hill and just kind of sits above everything and has these amazing views. And then the Four Seasons, there's actually two Four Seasons. So this is the one that we're mentioning here is the Four Seasons San Francisco. This is the one on Market Street, the classic one. It is still very popular. The whole Lakers team was there when we were touring it. There was paparazzi outside. They've renovated it. It looks so good. But then they have a whole brand new Four Seasons too. They took over what had been the Lowe's and now is another Four Seasons. So you actually, this is a city with two Four Seasons. That should give you an indication of like there's still a lot of good stuff to be had. And then the Pali Hotel. Pali Hotel, if you want something super affordable, Pali Hotel is it. So they have really, really good prices there. So a few different options to consider if you want to be down in the city. And again, I'd say give the city a shake. It's still pretty great. And then additional stops. What else could you do? You could go down to San Diego. You could go to Joshua Tree and on into Palm Springs, Yosemite. Obviously, Napa and Sonoma are really popular if you want to head up into the wine region. And then Tahoe, they are getting a lot of snow. So if somebody's looking for a last minute spring break with skiing, book into Lake Tahoe. Edgewood is doing quite well there. Yeah, and then more, we said Palm Springs, Santa Cruz, you could add a stop there and just a lot of other places that you're going to be passing through along the way. Now, driving tips. The roads are windy, particularly if you're going in Big Sur. If you have a family traveling and the kids tend to get car sick, bring the Dramamine. Also, just like choose your car wisely. One thing to know is that when the rains happen, which this did happen to me out there can be road slides. So there can be road closures. Make sure you're using a GPS so that you're aware if a road closes, like, if you're on like where to go around, always GPS will be able to help you with that. And then don't get in trouble with the California police by talking on a cell phone when you are driving. So just keep this in mind. Now, festivals and events. I won't go through all of these, but stuff for you to remember because, again, some people want to be there during an event like the Balloon Festival. Some people are not interested in being around. If you think it's going to be like very expensive during the harvest in Napa, which it will be, maybe don't go then. All right, everybody. Thank you for hanging in there with us. Next week, the training will be on Corsica and Sardinia. I will be on an airplane, so this will be led by our amazing Director of Travel Operations, Leslie, who is right now leading a FAM in London and Edinburgh. So thanks, everybody, for joining. Have a good weekend.